Something changed in the sky this year, and it all began right after CERN powered back on. From Chicago to Geneva, people have been capturing things they cannot explain.
Look at this!
I truly believe you are going to love it. Late one night in Chicago, a man stepped outside and noticed something shifting behind the clouds above his neighborhood. A pattern of light was moving slowly, tracing wide, irregular loops behind the cloud cover, like something searching for a path. Lightning does not loop, and aircraft lights do not bend that way. He grabbed his phone and started recording from his driveway. The pattern kept changing shape as it moved, before gradually fading behind thicker clouds. He posted the footage online the next morning, and people from 3 other cities said they had seen the exact same thing that same night, but could not identify what it actually was. Rays across Geneva. Just days after CERN restarted its collider in early 2026, a man in Geneva stepped out into his backyard and saw something he had never seen before. Rays of light were spreading outward across the sky in every direction, from a single point overhead, like spokes on a wheel made of light. He called to his wife, and they both stood watching as the rays held their shape for several minutes before slowly fading. Physicists who watched the video online claimed that these were crepuscular rays. Red sky streaks. Late one night in Atlanta, Georgia, a man looked up and saw bright red streaks of light appearing across the sky. The streaks moved from left to right, then reversed, forming a pattern that repeated several times before the lights faded. People pulled out their phones and filmed this strange moment. Within an hour, similar footage started appearing from Memphis, Tennessee, and Birmingham, Alabama, suggesting the phenomenon covered a wide area. No weather agency reported unusual atmospheric activity that night, and no official source ever described what those moving red streaks actually were. Live broadcast anomaly. A news anchor in Milwaukee, Wisconsin was wrapping up a live outdoor segment when viewers at home started pausing their screens. Behind her, in the open sky, the camera had briefly caught white glowing particles moving through the frame. They scattered in every direction like embers from a fire, except the sky was completely clear and nothing was burning nearby. Unaware of the particles, the anchor speculated about aliens. Orange cloud beam. In New Mexico, on Interstate 40, a man noticed a column of orange light dropping down from the clouds at a single fixed point on the horizon ahead of him. It was narrow and vertical, like a spotlight with no visible source. He unclipped his phone from the dashboard mount and filmed through the windshield. The beam did not shift or widen as he got closer. Out of curiosity, he shared the clip on YouTube, where on EOF the commenters suggested that it might be scattered light of the sun making its way through thick clouds. UFO over city. A man standing outside his apartment building in downtown Austin, Texas, noticed a glowing shape in the sky that was not behaving like any aircraft he had seen before. It hovered at a fixed altitude while projecting a faint illumination downward, and in the distance beside it, an unusual shimmer on the horizon made an outline of buildings visible that he could not identify. He filmed it for several minutes and zoomed in as far as his phone allowed. The object eventually drifted behind a bank of clouds and did not reappear. After this sighting, he became sure that it might be a UFO that created the mirage of the city. Switching sky beams. A man standing in his driveway in Columbus, Ohio, noticed something in the sky above his neighborhood that he could not explain. Beams of light were appearing and disappearing in an irregular sequence, switching on and off at no consistent interval, as though something behind the clouds was producing them. The beams were spaced apart evenly enough to suggest a pattern, but the switching was random. After a while, the last beam shut off, and the sky went dark and stayed that way. No event, concert, or official installation accounted for the lights. So, what it could be, only you can decide. Bright red beams. Late one night in Oklahoma City, a man sitting on his back porch noticed a single red beam of light moving across the sky from left to right. He picked up his phone and started filming. Then, without warning, a second identical beam appeared beside the first, matching its speed and direction exactly. Both beams moved together a while before fading and leaving the sky empty. He watched for another 10 minutes to see if anything else appeared. Nothing did. He showed the clip to one of his friends, who claimed the beams were red sprites caused by a weather phenomenon. Dublin Sky Portal. A pedestrian walking through downtown Dublin, Ireland, looked up when the light around him changed suddenly. In the sky above the street, a circular area had begun to glow with an intense white light that expanded outward from a single point like a portal slowly opening. He pulled out his phone and filmed it as others on the street stopped and looked up too. The clouds were seen moving through the glow. Out of confusion, he asked one of the senior citizens, and he claimed it was a beam of light, not a portal. Split sky. A woman in Boise, Idaho was heading out to run errands when she looked up and stopped in the parking lot. The sky above her was divided into two sections by a clean, straight line running from one end of the horizon to the other. One side of the line was completely clear blue, while the other side held a thin, uniform layer of cloud. The transition between them was too precise to be a natural weather boundary, which normally shows a gradual mixing at the edges. She filmed it and shared it with her followers, who called it a shelf boundary from two air masses meeting. Sky turned orange. A man pulled into a gas station on a highway in Memphis, Tennessee, to fill up before continuing a long drive. He looked up and noticed the sky was doing something he had never seen before. The sun was descending with unusual intensity, casting the sky in overlapping layers of dark red, burnt orange, and deep amber, with no gradual fading between the colors. The contrast between the layers was sharp enough that it looked almost painted. Glowing sky particles. A man in Minneapolis, Minnesota, was filming the evening sky when something appeared in the sky. Glowing particles were visible through the camera, as if it were shining windows of an invisible building. He kept filming and zoomed in as she could to get a better look, but could not identify what it actually was.
Oh wow, that's a big one.
Oh! No!
He posted the footage with no caption, and the viewers brushed it off as a hoax. Green beam sky. A man in New Orleans, Louisiana, had been filming an approaching thunderstorm when something unexpected appeared in the sky. A green glow began building in the sky above the low clouds, and then a narrow beam shot upward from the glow into the higher atmosphere. The beam was vivid green and completely vertical, lasting about 15 seconds before it shut off. Scientists later suggested it may have been a type of upper atmospheric lightning called a blue jet, but the color in the footage did not match those phenomena well. Strange sky formation. A woman living in San Francisco, California, was having her dinner when he heard a strange buzzing sound outside. She rushed with her camera on and filmed this strange moment. In the sky, a luminous formation had appeared, structured and bright, unlike anything he had seen before. The sky turned cyan, and there was also a brighter glow behind the building far away, as if the source of formation had landed there.
Yeah, checked online.
Don't turn on the TV. Look at the smoke over there.
They could not understand what was happening, so they shared the clip on YouTube, where one of the commenters suggested that it might be a UFO, but no official news ever came out. Blinking light trail. The night was clear over Portland, Oregon, when residents in two different places looked up and saw the same thing at the same time. A trail of individual lights stretched across the sky, each one blinking, with the whole formation drifting slowly from east to west. People filmed it with their jaws dropped as they saw something like this for the first time. Both videos showed the same trail from slightly different angles, moving fast across the sky. Later, it was confirmed that it was a Starlink project by Elon Musk. Doorway to hell. Recently, a woman in El Paso, Texas, came outside after a neighbor's frantic knock on their doors and looked up to find a large ring of deep orange light burning in the sky above their street. The ring was perfectly circular, and it glowed with an intensity that cast faint shadows on the ground below.
Look, east! Look east!
And smoke was coming out from it as if something was burning beside the clouds. Several residents filmed it immediately. All of them were left shocked as they had never seen something like it before and shared the clips online, but the viewers dismissed it as a hoax. Circling sky lights. A man pulled his car off a highway in Albuquerque, New Mexico, after noticing something bizarre in the sky. Several glowing objects had descended below the cloud layer and were moving in a wide circle together, each one maintaining even spacing from the others as they rotated.
You tell me those are drones moving in that pattern and so fast. You're gonna see how they move so fast, and then
the objects completed several full rotations before they began rising slowly back toward the clouds. One by one, they disappeared back into the clouds. He stayed parked for another 10 minutes waiting to see if they would return, but they did not. City above clouds? Just a month ago in Roswell, New Mexico, a man was out for some groceries when he saw something unexpected. Just above the clouds, a skyline was visible, towers and structures glowing faintly. He filmed it slowly, panning left to right to capture the full width. Meteorologists who saw the footage called it a fata morgana, a rare mirage caused by atmospheric layers bending light from a distant city. Light toward ground. People in Dallas came outside after someone on the street started screaming after seeing something in the sky. A bright streak was descending from the sky at a steep angle, glowing white with a faint tail trailing behind it. It looked like a shooting star. Later, when the videos were circulated online, experts claimed that it was debris coming from space. Smoky trail. A woman in Houston was heading home one evening when a thick, smoky streak split the sky ahead of her. It had a bright, glowing tip at its front end that was pushing downward toward the ground, leaving a faint shimmer behind it. The streak held its shape far longer than any contrail would, and the glow at its tip kept descending at a steady angle. Out of curiosity, she shared the clip online, where one of the commenters suggested that it might be a fallen aircraft descending to the ground. UFO sighting. A man in Phoenix stepped onto his balcony for some air and spotted something in the sky that kept him awake for the rest of the night. A bright ring of light was moving in the sky, and sitting at its center was a separate, spherical, glowing object. He knocked on his neighbor's door and brought him outside to confirm he was seeing it correctly. The center went dark first, and then the outer ring followed. His neighbor suggested a drone light show or a UFO, but no event was scheduled anywhere near their apartment, and no official news ever came out. Meteor. On a dark stretch of highway in Las Vegas, a driver noticed a round glow hanging in the sky ahead. The object was perfectly spherical, moving slowly in the sky. He steered with one hand and filmed with the other. The glow held its shape and its path without any variation for about 90 seconds. Then it dimmed from the outside in until the center was the last point of light, and that too went out. On the way back to him, he could not shake the feeling that it might be a meteor. White sky plume. Hope you've enjoyed it so far, but it's about to get more insane after this. Trust me. Quickly like this video and subscribe so you can watch the next part just as quickly. People in San Antonio started coming out of their houses after someone in the neighborhood sent a message to a local group chat. A long plume of white light was cutting across the night sky. The plume drifted at an incredible speed before getting wider. No military installation in the region acknowledged any activity that night, and no aircraft registered a flight path matching what those families filmed. Later, it was identified as a supersonic missile heading toward its target. Skylight flash. A man in southern England saw a glowing object appear in the night sky above. It had a round and bright tip, with an orange trail moving in a downward arc toward the city. Suddenly, it turned the entire sky bright and faded away, as if it was not even there. Out of curiosity, he filmed the moment on his camera and later shared it online, which was identified as a missile heading toward its target before being intercepted. Terrifying cloud. A man in Geneva was heading out to his car to leave for office when the sky above the city stopped him in his tracks. A massive dark cloud was spreading rapidly across the sky from the direction of the CERN facility, moving faster than any normal weather system he had ever seen. It was dense and low, pressing down toward the rooftops and creating an illusion of tsunami. He filmed it from his driveway, turning slowly to show how fast it was spreading across the sky. Later, when he researched about it, he identified it as a shelf cloud. Red object at dusk. A woman in Tucson, Arizona, walked out onto her back porch just after sunset and noticed something pale and reddish hanging in the sky that was not the moon. Though the moon itself was also visible nearby at the same time. She stood watching both lights in the sky simultaneously and picked up her phone to film them.
And that's not the sun. That can't be the sun because the sunset is over there.
The red object was lower than the moon and appeared to have a defined, rounded shape rather than a glow spread across a large area. She shared the video and got several responses with no consensus. Buildings in the sea. Beachgoers relaxing on a shore in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, looked up from their towels one afternoon and saw something extraordinary out over the water. A cluster of tall buildings appeared to be hovering just above the surface of the sea, clearly visible and detailed against the sky. Scientists later explained it as a superior mirage, a phenomenon where layers of warm and cold air bend light and project images of distant cities onto the horizon. The nearest city in that direction was far beyond the visible horizon, which made the explanation harder for most witnesses to accept. Sky mirage. People in Charlotte, North Carolina, saw something none of them expected to see above their rooftops. A glowing structure was visible in the sky, defined clearly enough to show what looked like a tall building, hovering without any support. The structure held its position for about 6 minutes before the light spread outward. People shared it, calling it a mirage, but viewers brushed it off as a simple, tall building crossing the clouds and the sunlight shining on its wall, making it look brighter. Floating boat. A tourist photographing the coastline from a cliff near Bar Harbor, Maine, spotted something through her camera lens that made her lower the camera and look again with her naked eye. A boat appeared to be floating in the sky above the ocean, clearly visible and fully detailed, with its reflection nowhere beneath it. Meteorologists explained the phenomenon as a Fata Morgana mirage, caused by temperature inversions bending the light from a vessel that was actually much farther out at sea. The tourists on the cliff found the explanation interesting, but the video was creating an optical illusion. Hovering ring of smoke. A man was walking with his son toward a grocery store in Cincinnati, Ohio on one afternoon when the boy pointed up and asked what that was. Hovering at a fixed position in the sky above the parking lot was a smoke ring, dark against the pale sky, with its circular shape completely intact.
What is that?
It's like there's like smoke around it and stuff.
The father filmed it while his son watched. The ring did not drift or distort the way normal smoke would in open air. Out of curiosity, he asked the guard, who identified it as a smoke ring made by a factory funnel nearby. Dark hanging object. A couple visiting Millennium Park in Chicago, Illinois, was strolling near the bean sculpture on a clear afternoon when the woman looked up and stopped walking. A dark, solid-looking object was hanging motionless in the sky above the park with no visible means of staying there. It was not shaped like a balloon. Her husband looked up too, and they both stood there watching it for a while and left the area, whatever it was. It could fall on the ground. Crack in sky. A man in Denver, Colorado, had stepped outside onto his balcony with his morning coffee when he noticed something odd in the sky. A thin, dark line was visible in the sky, running horizontally, as though the sky itself had developed a fracture. He picked up his phone and started filming, zooming in as far as the camera would allow. It stayed visible for a while its outline was shimmering. He posted the footage with a caption asking what it was, and the comment section filled up fast and dismissed it as a hoax. Twin sky portals. A man walking his dog through a park in Salt Lake City, Utah, looked up at the overcast sky and noticed two perfectly circular clearings had appeared in the clouds. They were evenly spaced and identical in size. Like two holes punched through the clouds from above. Both of the holes had a faint glow on their outlines, moving in circles. The man shared the clip on TikTok to let the viewers guess who claimed that it might be a portal opening for aliens. Dark smoke ring. A husband and wife were on their way to a dinner reservation, driving through St. Louis, Missouri, when the husband pointed at something moving through the sky ahead of them. A dark, well-formed smoke ring was drifting across the sky at a steady pace. The husband slowed the car to get a better look and filmed it through the windshield as they drove slowly beneath it.
Oh, look at the smoke.
What the?
The ring continued drifting east until it was out of view. Both of them were left questioning each other about what it was, but they had no explanation for it. If you have any explanation, write it below in the comments. Orange cloud glow. A man on a long flight over the southern United States was filming the sky view when he noticed a faint warmth coming from below the cloud layer. Between thick cloud formations, something round and orange was glowing steadily. The glow appeared to be a disk of light sitting between the clouds.
What is that?
It was not moving. After the plane continued forward, the gap between the clouds closed, and the orange glow disappeared from view. Square cloud. A man driving through a flat stretch of highway in Kansas stopped his car on the shoulder when he spotted something in the sky that did not look natural. A single cloud formation hung in the clear sky, and it was shaped like a perfect square, with sharp corners and flat sides. He stepped out and filmed it, turning slowly to show the empty sky around it for context. Later, he searched online but found no explanation. Portal sighting. A group of tourists visiting Times Square in New York City was photographing when one of them noticed something in the sky above the buildings. A circular area of the sky had lit up with a soft, pulsing glow, as if a portal was making way for something to come out. But nothing came out. The glow stayed there, and they kept watching in awe when one of them revealed that it might be a beam of light striking against the sky and making the area glow brighter. 2 crescent moons. A woman stepping out of her apartment in Boston, Massachusetts, one evening looked up, immediately stopped, because there were not only 1 but 2 crescent moons in the sky. Both had the same curvature, but one was brighter, and both were positioned close enough together. She filmed it and sent it to her astronomer sister, who explained it as a rare optical phenomenon involving ice crystals in the upper atmosphere, refracting moonlight, and producing a secondary image. Orange-blue ring. A man in Portland, Oregon was walking his golden retriever on a sunny day when he noticed a round, glowing shape in the sky. The formation was orange, green, and blue, looking like a colorful crescent moon. but a moon in the afternoon did not make sense.
You ain't never seen no rainbow up in the sky like that.
To his surprise, he shared the video to one of his friends who claimed that it was a rainbow, but there were no clouds or rain on that day. So, what it could be? Write in the comments below. Mysterious planet. A man walking through a park in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, stopped when something appeared in the daytime sky that had no reason to be there. A round, planet-like object materialized against the blue sky, showing clear surface detail and a visible rotation as it turned slowly on its axis. The object was visible to everyone present and showed no signs of being a balloon or projection. After several minutes of slow rotation, he stopped filming and walked away. But when he shared the clip online, the viewers dismissed it as a hoax. Purple sky. A man in Miami, Florida, was heading home after a long day shift when he spotted this strange phenomenon. The clouds above his street had turned purple, not the pink purple of an unusual sunset, but a deep, saturated violet that covered the entire cloud layer above the city. He uploaded the footage with a simple question asking what had caused it, but the viewers could not explain what this phenomenon was. UFO triangle. One rainy night, a man walking to his car in Washington, D.C., spotted 3 bright orbs above the sky. They were locked in a perfect triangle, holding formation without any wobble. They were just moving steadily. He stood in the wet parking lot and filmed until his jacket was soaked through. He sent the footage to a local news station. Reporters asked the FAA whether any registered aircraft had been operating in that formation over the city that evening. The FAA said no, and he became sure that it was a UFO. UFO near plane. A passenger on a late-night flight over the Midwest pressed her face to the window after noticing a faint glow in the sky beside the plane's altitude. 3 distinct glowing objects were visible. She filmed through the window glass, which created some distortion, but the 3 lights were still clearly visible in the footage. Thinking they might be UFOs, he showed the footage to the flight attendant, who claimed they might be tall antennas with glowing lights to keep the flying objects away. Open discussion. One stormy night in Geneva, Switzerland, a man stood at his window filming lightning when something appeared between flashes that made him stop. A large, dark figure was visible in the sky during one of the longer illuminations, outlined against the low cloud base. It appeared to be upright, human-shaped, but massive in scale, and it seemed to be walking and giving commands to clouds and lightning. The man posted the clip, and it spread quickly across social media. One of the viewers claimed that it might be Thor, the god of thunder. But I would like to ask your opinion on it, so let me know in the comments section. Someone in Charleston, West Virginia, recorded a streak across the sky that they couldn't make sense of. A bright, fiery object came cutting through the atmosphere at speed, leaving a long orange and white trail behind it. That part alone could have been a meteor. But what got people talking was the shape at the front of it, which several witnesses described as looking like a figure with wings. The person who filmed it posted it asking if anyone else in the area saw it, and the responses came in fast. Nobody had a clean answer. Strange, streaking light. Two weeks ago, on a beach in Cape Town, South Africa, a crowd of people stood with their phones out staring at something cutting across the night sky above the ocean. A vivid purple light streaked diagonally downward at speed, leaving a clean, bright trail behind it as it went. The color alone made it stand out. Purple isn't a shade associated with any conventional aircraft or standard meteor burn. A faint rainbow-like arc appeared around it as well, which added another layer nobody had an easy answer for. City portals. The person who filmed this posted it with one question: what did I just film? And honestly, it was a fair one. Above a city skyline at night, two irregular, glowing structures appeared out of nowhere, outlined in a warm, amber light with dark centers that radiated outward like something was pushing through from the other side. The shapes held steady for several seconds, clearly defined against the black sky above the city lights below. No aircraft, no weather event, no laser show was confirmed in the area, and no explanation has ever been given. Strange light. In 2021, a man from Branson, Missouri spotted something totally unreal, a glowing orb in the middle of the sky. But he was wrong. It wasn't just an orb, because the commentators mentioned it looked more like the sky had ripped or been cut, revealing an intense orange glow from the other side. What do you think this was? An optical illusion due to the shape of the clouds blocking the sun? Or something else is at foot here? Comment below. Cloud serpent. In early February of this year, somewhere over Greenville, South Carolina, a man caught something moving through the gray clouds right outside his home. The cloud formation twisted and stretched into what looked unmistakably like a massive serpent coiling through the clouds. For anyone familiar with Revelation 12:9, the verse describes the great serpent being cast down to earth.
Holy smoking Toledos.
Strange orange glow. Chris Walpole uploaded this footage on Instagram that he captured in November while driving toward Elmira outside Eugene, Oregon. From the passenger seat, the camera pointed at a deep red and orange glow pulsing behind the clouds along the tree line, blinking in a slow, irregular pattern that didn't match any tower light or aircraft strobe. What made it harder to explain was that the same orange sky had been reported by other people in the area that same night, except in their sightings, the glow was steady with no flashing at all. Pyramid in the sky.
Holy Christ. What? There's this one there.
Footage from inside a car in Memphis, Tennessee on April 28, 2026 picked up something in the clouds. A perfectly shaped dark pyramid hung suspended in the gray sky, solid and defined against the surrounding clouds, with clean, angular edges that didn't shift or distort the way a cloud formation normally would. It wasn't rotating, wasn't moving, just sitting there above the tree line as traffic passed beneath it. Pyramid-shaped objects in the sky have been reported and filmed all over the world for years, but most of them don't look this clean or this deliberate. Rare phenomenon. This was filmed from a street corner in Los Angeles, California, and the person behind the camera said exactly what everyone watching was thinking. What was going on? A cluster of glowing orange lights lit up inside a cloud above a quiet residential neighborhood, pulsing and shifting in a pattern that didn't behave like lightning. There was no storm, no electrical activity reported in the area, and no official statement came out afterward. Some people landed on rare atmospheric phenomena. What do you think this was? Worldwide trumpets.
What is that, man?
People across the world are freaking out after similar but eerie trumpet sounds echoing through cities. It started in London at around 4 inches the morning when a massive trumpet-like blast shook empty streets and jolted residents out of their sleep. Shortly after, a worker near a shipping dock recorded something similar, deep, metallic, and seemingly descending straight down from the sky above him. Reports then started flooding in from Sweden, Michigan, and British Columbia in Canada, all describing the same type of sound. Dr. Glenn McPherson documented his own experience where the humming persisted inside his home even after he cut the power completely, which only made it worse.
Ultimately, I cut the power to the entire house. And the sound got louder.
People worldwide started calling them the trumpets of the apocalypse. What is your opinion on this?
Guys, what is going on?
Doomsday caught. On the 3rd of April, 2026, this phenomenon terrified everyone in Perth, Australia. The clouds began flashing red. At first, the intense light seemed to be coming from within the clouds, as if a really unusual thunderstorm was causing it. But after a few minutes, 3 red bands of light came down from the clouds. One of the bands began moving fast across the city. Look at this! The lightning was also too strange. As this kept happening for 2 hours, citizens thought it was a sign of the end of times. Unnatural cloud.
What the f is going on here?
Cumulonimbus clouds are already one of the more dramatic things the sky produces, stretching anywhere from 5,000 to 12,000 meters vertically and pulling together water droplets and ice crystals as they build. This particular one was filmed from ground level all the way up to where it disappeared into the upper atmosphere, a towering white column cutting straight through a clear blue sky. The science behind it was straightforward enough, but the middle section was what stopped people cold. Caught in the body of the cloud was what looked unmistakably like a human face, dark, defined, and staring outward from inside the formation like something was trapped in there.
Fucking spiritual.
Manipulating climate. On April 19th, 2026, the sky above Chongqing, China turned a deep, unsettling red and stayed that way for 15 minutes. Multiple intense beams of red light shot straight down from the clouds toward the city. Witnesses filmed it from rooftops and balconies across the city, and the footage spread fast. The original post tied it directly to Revelation 13, the verse about fire coming down from heaven in the sight of men. 15 minutes of red sky and descending beams over a major city is not something that happens every day. How does this make you feel? Let me know in the comments below. Laser strikes Turkey. On April 7th, 2026, a single green laser beam descended from the sky above Turkey and hit the ground below with enough intensity to cause the lights in the surrounding area to flicker and behave erratically. The beam was razor thin on the way down, but expanded into a wide, glowing green orb at the point where it met the clouds above. The electrical interference on the ground was what pushed this beyond just a strange light show. Something about that laser was interacting with the infrastructure directly underneath it. Austin anomaly. This happened late night in Austin, Texas, when the sky started doing something no one could explain. Strange lights flickered behind the clouds, too quick, too sharp to be lightning. They twisted and shifted like the air itself was tearing open, forming what looked like a glowing portal above the city. The longer it went on, the more unreal it felt, like the sky was alive and about to spill something out. For a few eerie minutes, it truly seemed like the world was standing on the edge of something extraordinary. Floating ring. In Melbourne, Australia, a couple out for a late-night walk spotted a glowing ring drifting high above the city. At first, they thought it was a drone, but it moved too smoothly, too quiet, too steady for that. The ring pulsed with shifting colors, almost breathing, before it faded into the clouds without a sound. Their stunned reaction says it all. Whatever that was, it didn't come from us.
What?
Biblically accurate angel. In the Italian countryside, 5 miles south of Sicily, a group of tourists captured something in the sky that left them frozen. What looked at first like a bright star turned out to be a massive, glowing wheel-shaped anomaly in the sky, which people instantly said looked like a biblically accurate angel, or somewhat resembled one. The light was so bright it could be seen for miles, and for several hours it stayed suspended in one place, turning like a machine. Then it dimmed and disappeared. In the Bible, they are called ophanim, and can be found in Ezekiel 1 from 15 till 21, and also Ezekiel 10:12. Glitch in the sky.
Oh wow, that's a big one.
This was filmed in Portland, Oregon, and nobody there had answers for it. A bright, intense light just sat in the middle of a gray, overcast sky, completely still. Then it started splitting apart, breaking into smaller, glowing pieces that floated out around it. The whole thing looked less like a weather event and more like something that wasn't supposed to be seen. A lot of people in the comments called it a glitch in the simulation, and honestly, looking at the footage, it wasn't hard to see why.
Oh my god, that's a monster.
Crows going haywire. Thousands of crows descended on Sunnyvale, California, in what residents described as something straight out of a horror film. The sky turned dark with them, a dense rolling mass of birds moving together like a single organism. That alone was unsettling enough, but then they shifted direction and moved toward a nearby Walmart, covering the parking lot, the roof, and every surface in sight. Two completely separate locations, same overwhelming swarm. Animals behaving this way has historically been linked to warnings of natural disasters or seismic activity. Project or miracle. An Instagram user by the name Antonia Leo was in Houston, Texas on April 28, 2026, when he captured something unbelievable. The clouds had formed what looked like a massive robed figure staring straight down, arms at its sides, the outline clear enough that people in the comments immediately started calling it Jesus. Some viewers went straight to Project Bluebeam being used to trick people, but the figure was detailed enough that even the skeptics had a hard time just calling it nothing. Yeah. Clouds appearing strange. This broke as local news in Nashville, Tennessee, and people were pulling over on the side of the road to film it. A cloud formation had taken the shape of a robed figure, with both arms stretched wide open. The silhouette so clean and defined, it barely even looked like a cloud. Multiple people in the area captured it from different angles, and the shape held for several minutes before slowly dispersing. Whether it was a divine message or just a remarkable coincidence, the clip is really shocking. Angel over Uzbekistan. During a storm over Tashkent, Uzbekistan, someone filmed the sky from their window and caught something that spread across the internet within hours. Lightning was cutting through the clouds when it revealed what looked like a giant winged figure just above the city. Wings fully spread, a distinct human form visible in the center. The buildings below gave it scale, and that's what made it so striking. The figure appeared absolutely massive. Peculiar shape. In America, unusual things have been showing up in the sky for several days in a row, and this one just added to the mystery. A glowing white object hung completely still in a pitch-black sky, and the shape was what made it so hard to categorize. It had a defined structure, almost diamond-like, with intense light at the top and what looked like layered sections running through the middle. The comments were full of people calling it an angel, or a divine figure caught mid-form, but I am not sure it looks different than an angel. Drop what you think in the comments. Mysterious sighting. The The shape wasn't immediately obvious in this one, but once you saw it, it was hard to unsee. Filmed against a gray, overcast sky, a large winged figure moved slowly behind the cloud cover before disappearing completely into it. The humanoid form was faint, but the wings were the clearest part of the whole thing. It didn't move like a bird, and the scale of it relative to the clouds ruled that out pretty quickly anyway. It was there for a few seconds, and then it was just gone. Bloating cars. Imagine spending thousands of dollars on your luxury car only to find it suddenly swollen and bloated. People are saying due to the unnatural changes in climate and weather, things that we own are paying the price. Look at these videos where people were left stunned after seeing their cars melting. The paint had formed blobs over the vehicles. The strangest part was that this didn't happen to just one car. It affected hundreds of vehicles parked under the sun. But the temperatures are reaching numbers never reached before. I mean, spring looked more like winter, and now all of a sudden, it started to get hotter by the day. Something to think about. Mysterious incident. This one was filmed in broad daylight, which made it harder to dismiss than most. Behind a break in the clouds, an intense beam of light pushed upward in a way that didn't match the sun's position or angle at all. People on the ground weren't just seeing it either. They were hearing something coming from the same direction, a faint but distinct sound that nobody could identify.
I hope it's getting on the camera. I can't even see the screen. Oh, shit!
The glow shifted slowly behind the cloud cover like it was moving with intention, then dimmed completely without warning. Sky splits open.
Everyone is looking up, wondering why the sky is split.
Nobody at this location could agree on what they were looking at, but everyone had their phones out. At sunset, the clouds or sky split in half as everyone was dumbfounded by this weird sight. There was a swirling vortex of white clouds forming directly beneath it. The contrast between the dark shape above and the golden sunset clouds below made the whole thing look like the sky had physically torn open at that point. People watching from the ground kept filming as it held its shape.
Sky is broken, and everybody knows something's fishy.
Talking orb?
Can you talk to me? Can you hear me? Jesus loves me.
In New Jersey, on December 16th, 2025, a TikTok video captured a glowing orb in the night sky that had an unusual shape to it, rounded at the front with what looked like wings or fins extending from the sides, almost angelic in form. The woman filming it started talking to it directly, asking it to respond, and according to her, it did.
God is good.
The exchange she captured was strange enough that people were replaying it over and over, trying to figure out what they were hearing.
You know Jesus. Jesus is awesome, isn't he?
Portal opens. On January 8th, 2026, residents of Vancouver, Canada, looked up to find something glowing between the gray storm clouds that had no business being there. A large, oval-shaped object burned with deep gold and orange light, ringed by a vivid purple haze that radiated outward into the surrounding clouds. It sat completely still, perfectly formed, and unlike any atmospheric optical effect on record. The purple ring alone set it apart from anything that could be explained away as sun refraction or lens flare. People on the ground were calling it a portal to another dimension, and looking at the footage, it was genuinely hard to argue with that description. Mysterious green orb. At 6:15 in the evening on 15th May, 2025, someone in Perth, Australia caught a green orb moving across the sky. The object left a faint gray trail behind it as it moved, and the motion was what really set it apart. It skipped across the sky the same way a flat stone skips across water, bouncing in an arc rather than traveling in a straight line. The person filming confirmed they lived nowhere near an airport or any flight path. No conventional aircraft pulls off that kind of movement, and nothing natural glows that shade of green. shape-shifting light.
It's a UFO.
Over North America, someone filmed a glowing pink and red light trail in the sky that couldn't seem to settle on a single form. It started as a loose, curved shape, almost like a hook or a letter, then slowly shifted and closed itself into a perfect oval ring, glowing against the darkening clouds. The light was consistent and bright the whole time, not flickering or fading as it morphed from one shape to the other. The fact that it kept changing was what pushed this well past anything with a straightforward explanation. Sky portal.
The sky is absolutely, it's like a sign of God.
In Costa Rica, a crowd of people stopped and pointed their cameras at something opening up in the clouds above them that was genuinely hard to look away from.
I have never seen anything like this. This is the sky here.
A massive circular gap formed in the cloud cover, ringed with vivid iridescent color. Full spectrum rainbow hues running along the entire curved edge where the clouds parted. What they were likely looking at was a phenomenon called a fall streak hole, or hole punch cloud, caused when ice crystals in a thin cloud layer rapidly evaporate in a circular pattern. The science explains the mechanics, but does very little to make it look any less like a portal tearing itself open above your head.
Wow.
Two suns. On October 11th, in New York City, residents captured two equally bright suns hung side by side in the orange sky above the city skyline, both perfectly round and glowing at the same intensity. Meteorologists would point to a sundog, an atmospheric optical illusion caused by ice crystals refracting sunlight, as the likely explanation. But sundogs typically appear to the side of the sun and are less defined than what this footage showed. Burning descent. In Campinas, Brazil, a man filming from his rooftop caught something fiery plummeting from the sky. The object crashed into a nearby field, sending up smoke, and then, according to him, something impossible happened. A glowing figure stepped out from the haze, stood for a moment, and then shot straight back into the sky. The clip went viral fast before anyone could delete it. Some say it's edited, others swear it's real. But whatever fell that night, it wasn't just space debris. Ocean light mystery. Off the coast of Florida, a man standing on a dock captured something he couldn't explain. A bright blue light cutting across the night sky before diving straight into the Pacific Ocean. The glow lit up the water for several seconds, turning the dark waves almost white. Then, just as suddenly, it was gone. No splash, no smoke, no trace. Some say it was a meteor, others think it was something far more controlled, like it was entering the ocean on purpose. To this day, no one knows what that glowing object really was. California encounter. Back in 2009, a group of tourists visiting the Southern California desert witnessed something unforgettable. Strange lights appeared far off in the distance, followed by a massive craft hovering silently at the center. Two smaller ones glided beside it, moving in perfect sync, before merging into the larger craft in a sudden flash of light. The entire formation vanished in seconds, leaving behind one shaky video and a mystery that still has people talking. MLB interrupted. During a late-night baseball match in USA, players stopped mid-game as a huge, dark shape floated above them. The object was almost invisible at first, blending with the night sky, until it began to glow faintly, revealing a massive triangular form. Spectators filmed in shock as it hovered without sound, casting a quiet, unnerving presence over the field. Then, in a blink, it was gone. The footage has been debated ever since, with many calling it one of the most convincing UFO sightings ever caught during a live event. Sky flash. Late one night, a burst of blinding light cut straight through the clouds, fast, silent, and way too perfect to be a meteor or jet. Witnesses said it moved like it had purpose, slicing through the sky before vanishing without a sound. All that was left was a faint, glowing trail that lingered for a moment, then faded away. Whatever it was, it didn't move like anything we've built, and it definitely wasn't meant for us to see. Invasion in Colorado? In Boulder, Colorado, witnesses caught something unbelievable hovering above the mountains, a mysterious craft shining with a strange blue glow. Multiple people filmed it, and the footage quickly spread online, with experts calling it one of the clearest UAP recordings ever made. Some say it was a top-secret drone, others think it was a hologram, but the way it moved made people question if this was something far beyond human design. Secret sky test.
On the left there's something.
That's the news going down.
Near Area 51 in Nevada, a group of explorers filming for a project called Fear captured something shocking. Their cameras caught a sudden explosion lighting up the desert sky.
Oh! I got it!
I got it too! You guys.
That's an explosion.
Followed by a dark, silent object hovering over the blast zone. The clip spread fast online, with people calling it proof of secret alien tests. The way the sky lit up like daylight was too bright, too precise, made it hard to believe it was anything normal.
Oh, another one. Oh, I see it. Oh, it's going. It's doing it again.
Lunar base real? A video that surfaced online has people questioning everything we think we know about the moon. The footage shows a sleek, disc-shaped craft gliding toward the surface. Then, out of nowhere, a faint, circular opening appears. The object slips inside effortlessly, like it's entering a doorway. The portal then seals itself, leaving the lunar surface looking untouched. The clip spread fast across social media, with users claiming it proves there are secret bases hidden beneath the moon's surface. NASA hasn't commented, but experts admit the movement looks far too smooth to be a visual glitch. If real, it could mean advanced activity has been happening much closer to us than anyone's willing to say. Flaring sky. This bizarre phenomenon occurred in China on the 16th of February, 2025. Everything seemed normal until strange glowing objects suddenly lit up the sky, appearing like flares of light moving toward the Earth. Some spectators panicked and began to run, while some managed to film the moment. Otherwise, no one would have believed that something like this had happened. Later, experts claimed on the news that these objects were meteorites falling from the sky. Triple suns. One afternoon in Ginkgo Village, South Korea, a farmer was working in his field when he looked up and froze. There were 3 bright suns shining in the sky. He rubbed his eyes, thinking he was tired or dreaming, but the strange sight did not fade. The suns glowed in a triangular position, lighting up the village in a strange way. As he filmed, he noticed that some other villagers were also pointing at the sky, but none of them understood what was happening there. Luminescent sky.
What holy shit? What?
One early morning in Colombia, a man witnessed a strange phenomenon in the sky. He was filming the mountain view at dawn when, suddenly, a bright light appeared behind a mountain and began drifting across the sky like a jellyfish. It glowed in blue, green, pink, and orange, forming wheel-like and spiral patterns. Although he was a professional photographer, he had never seen anything like it in his life. Later, he shared the video on Instagram to let the viewers guess, but they were also left baffled.
Only know it's behind the other mountain. There's nothing there.
Jesus in cloud.
Oh, blessed Jesus, look at that.
On August 22nd, last year, the sunset over the California mountains produced a cloud formation that spread across religious and paranormal communities online within hours. The clouds had built into the distinct silhouette of a kneeling or bowing figure.
Oh, I've never seen nothing like it in my life. Praise God.
Head clearly defined and bowed forward, the body shaped in a way that left very little room for alternative interpretation. What made it even more striking was the thin circular halo of cloud that formed naturally above the figure's head, perfectly positioned like something out of a Renaissance painting.
You can see him, can't you?
Look at that.
Yeah.
Humanoid floats by.
See it? What the hell's wrong with
No, it's straight up and down.
This clip made the rounds fast because of how defined the shape was against a clear blue sky. A glowing white humanoid figure floated at altitude, arms and legs visible, the proportions unmistakably person-like. It wasn't falling and it wasn't attached to anything. It moved slowly across the frame with a faint light emanating from its center, bright enough to suggest it was generating its own glow rather than just reflecting sunlight. No balloon, no drone, and no parachute accounts for that specific shape moving that way in a completely clear sky. People who wrote it off as a Mylar balloon struggled to explain the limbs.
Uh-oh, Iron Man, sorry. Iron Man.
Open discussion of the day.
Oh, blessed Jesus, look at that.
Just a couple of days ago in Alabama, an atmospheric event produced something that left the people who witnessed it completely speechless. The light that formed in the sky took on the shape of a standing human figure, robed, with a clearly defined head, shoulders, and body, radiating an intense white and golden glow outward in every direction. The silhouette was detailed enough that the outline of the arms and the drape of what looked like clothing were both visible. Whether this was a rare optical phenomenon caused by ice crystals and light refraction, or something else entirely, the shape it chose to take was not lost on anyone who saw it. Something strange lit up the night sky over Kansas City, Missouri, USA, and a bystander barely pulled out his phone before it was over. The air was clear, no storm, no scheduled air show, nothing that could explain what was about to appear. Bright red streaks of light drifted across the sky from left to right. He shared the clip online, which quickly went viral, and some viewers suggested military flares, others pointed to atmospheric disturbances, but no official explanation was ever released. Creature of cave. A group of explorers was venturing through the mountains of Carlsbad, New Mexico, USA. Ahead of them was a white humanoid figure with its body covered in white fur, standing beside a large, rounded rock. It appeared to be pushing the rock steadily along the cave floor, as if closing the opening of the cave. When they raised their voices, they didn't react. The rock it had been pushing was too big for it to move, but it was pushing it. One of them identified it as a cave monster he once heard about in stories. Mountain glow. Locals of Indonesia saw something glowing on the mountainside ahead of them, which left them stunned. Two distinct colors were coming out from the same spot on the mountain, a bright orange and electric blue. It looked as if a UFO landed behind the trees. None of them had seen anything like it before. They filmed it for nearly 2 minutes before the glow slowly faded and the mountain went normal again, leaving no trace of what had been there. Strange creature.
Digging, no eating something.
A driver pulled over on a remote highway outside of Fairbanks, Alaska, USA, in January 2003, when his eyes caught something on the snow-covered mountain. Crouched on the white surface was a dark, long-limbed creature, bent forward and looking as if working with a narrow beak. It wasn't a raven, it wasn't a wolf, and it wasn't anything he could put a name to at the moment. He filmed from inside the car, not willing to step out in fear. When he zoomed in, the proportions of the creature became even harder to explain. Medusa sighting. A tourist was exploring a rocky desert trail in Las Vegas, Nevada, USA, in the summer 2023, when he looked up the cliff and froze. Standing at the edge of the rock face was a woman, upright, staring down at him. What stopped him cold wasn't just her presence up there, but what was on her head. Dark, Twisted branches spread outward from her head, looking nothing like hair or any cap. He stood there for a moment, unsure whether to call out, and that was when she let out a creepy sound in anger, as if warning him not to record, otherwise he would have to bear the consequences. When he shared the footage online, viewers immediately pointed to Medusa, the serpent-haired creature from Greek mythology, said to turn anyone who looked at her to stone. Fiery asphalt. On the 24th of November, 2022, a man was heading toward the store for some groceries in New Orleans, Louisiana, USA. He noticed a swirling mass of something bright orange spinning slowly on the dry asphalt, not spreading outward the way a normal flame would, as if something underneath the road was controlling it. There was no fuel source visible, no gas leak smell, and no crack in the road surface. Confused, the man captured this moment and shared it on Instagram, where one of the commenters suggested that it might be caused by a fallen gasoline drum.
Oh my god, that was amazing.
Pegasus sighting.
I can't believe this, it's real!
We'd tell you what's next, but honestly, you need to see it yourself. Like this video and stay locked in. This video started making rounds online that left people arguing in the comments. It was filmed by a pilot somewhere in Scotland over a wide open grassy field, backed by a dense wall of green forest, and at first glance, it looked like a white horse. Then, suddenly, its outstretched wings lifted off the ground and rose into the sky. The pilot who shared it claimed it was a Pegasus that had just taken flight, but the viewers brushed it off as a hoax.
It's got wings. No way it's gonna fly.
Beach anomaly. Beachgoers on the shoreline of Virginia Beach in Virginia, USA, had their evening interrupted when something appeared at the far end of the beach and started moving at a speed that didn't seem physically possible. It glowed faintly, had a humanoid shape, upright arms and legs in motion, before launching itself straight into the sky and vanishing. The witnesses were left stunned because it was something out of the ordinary. Mid-sea sphere.
Acércate un poco, dale zoom, dale zoom.
Navy patrol personnel operating in the Pacific Ocean, approximately 200 miles southwest of San Diego, California, USA, when something broke the surface ahead of their vessel. A large, solid spherical mass rose steadily out of the water, shedding black foam as it emerged, as if it were a planet from another universe. It appeared on the surface for a while before diving deeper. The footage was handed over to the relevant department for review, but they could not identify whether it was a hoax or real.
¿Qué es eso?
Waterfall entity. A group of tourists visiting Sekumpul Waterfall in Buleleng Regency, Bali, Indonesia, were photographing the falls when someone in the group noticed movement in the rock. A crack in the mountain, wide enough to be visible from where they stood, was producing something dark, a shape pressing itself out through the narrow opening in the rock. It was large enough that the crack should not have been able to contain it, and yet it kept emerging, pulling itself forward inch by inch. The tourists backed away in fear. By the time their guide came over to look, there was nothing. Glowing sea formation.
Oh, it's moving.
A tourist boat was moving through the waters off the coast of the Maldives in the Indian Ocean when passengers on the upper deck noticed something glowing in the water. It wasn't the bioluminescent plankton the area was known for. This was a circular pattern of soft light sitting just below the surface, rotating slowly like a wheel. The captain slowed the boat. The formation kept pace with the vessel for a short distance before sinking deeper and fading out. The crew had been operating that route for years and had never seen anything like it.
Down there saying somebody's scuba diving.
Open discussion. A group of friends was out for a morning walk near Lake Tahoe, California, USA, when one of them noticed something unexpected. The surface of the lake suddenly began forming a strange geometric pattern with nothing around it that could cause this disturbance. The pattern held its shape for a while before the water returned to normal. Out of curiosity, he shared the clip on Instagram, but it also left the viewers as baffled as we are. Lake Sphere.
Crazy. That's weird, man. Look at that thing, man. It's just like hovering, not even moving.
A couple out for an afternoon walk along the shores of Whiskeytown Lake, Shasta County, California, USA, noticed something hovering low over the water. It was a spherical object, dark, solid, and perfectly round, floating at a consistent height of roughly 10 feet above the lake's surface. It didn't bob or drift the way a balloon would. It was hovering at only one point, and out of curiosity, they filmed it and shared the clip on Instagram, where viewers dismissed it as a hoax.
What's it doing? I don't know, man.
What
That's
do you
kind of
think,
scaring
man?
me. It's kind of scaring you?
Nessie.
Ripple. Where? Right there. It's moving.
One Sunday, a group of university fellows was visiting a lake in Canada when they saw a strange ripple in the water as if something was moving under it. They began filming when a dark and hard back appeared on the surface. They were left even more shocked when a long neck with a serpent-like head appeared out of the water and floated in the water for a brief moment before diving back into the deep water. They asked the boat pilot, who claimed that he once heard about Nessie, a mythical creature said to protect this lake. But when the footage circulated online, the viewers brushed it off as a hoax. Merman.
Dragging that tail is massive, heading straight for the water.
Two friends were visiting Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, USA, when they noticed something strange lying in the wet sand near the water. It was large and gray, unlike anything usually washed up on shore. Its upper body looked muscular, almost human, but below the waist, it had something like a fish's tail. Before they could understand what they were seeing, the creature suddenly sprang from the sand, flapped toward the waves, and disappeared into the water as if it had never been there. The sight left them shaken, wondering whether they had seen a merman or something even more disturbing.
Oh God, did you see how far it jumped? What was that thing?
Ghost ship. Navy guards patrolling waters off the coast of Gloucester, Massachusetts, USA, spotted something strange in the middle of the water. It was a vessel that looked old, dark-hulled, with no visible crew, no navigation lights, and no response to radio contact. After recording this sighting, they immediately reversed their boat, as they did not want to be in any trouble, but could not explain how this vessel appeared in the water. Funnel cloud.
What is this? I have never seen a cloud formation like this.
In Oklahoma, USA, a man pointed his camera toward the sky, and what he spotted was bizarre. A perfectly shaped funnel of cloud descended from a flat-bottomed storm cell, rotating slowly but holding its narrow, tapered form without ever touching the ground. Some meteorologists called it a funnel cloud formation, but I would like to know your take on it, so tell me in the comments section.
Holy funnel is going on in front of me, but...
Dark ditch entity. People in Sedona, Arizona, USA, gathered around a drainage ditch after someone spotted movement in it. One of them pulled out a phone and started recording. What the camera picked up was difficult to make sense of. A dark, formless shape slowly rising from inside the ditch, its outline distorted and shifting, like it was struggling to pull itself out. No limbs were clearly visible, no face, just a mass of darkness. The people filming stepped back without a word and called the authorities. Shimmering sky.
It's not burning up.
A man in downtown San Francisco, California, USA, noticed what appeared to be several tiny, shimmering particles floating in the sky. They weren't falling like rain. They were just hovering, flickering like crushed glass held in place by an invisible force. Air quality reports for the day showed nothing unusual. Nobody filed a formal report, and nobody identified what they had been looking at.
That's so trippy.
Yes, it is.
Sky disk. The sky over Bisbee, Arizona, USA, was already dark and restless, with thick storm clouds rolling in when someone pointed their camera upward and caught something nobody expected. A flash of lightning lit up the clouds from behind, and a disc-shaped object became visible right in the middle of the churning sky. It had clean, defined edges, far too symmetrical to be a cloud formation. No aircraft was reported in the area that night, and the storm made visibility nearly impossible for any conventional explanation. Bigfoot sighting. He was driving through a wooded stretch near Bluff Creek, Humboldt County, California, USA, when something moving between the trees made him pull over. He quickly pointed his camera toward the tree line and hit record. What appeared in the frame was a large, upright figure moving on two legs with a slow, heavy gait, dark fur covering its entire body, shoulders broad, stride unnaturally long. It wasn't running, wasn't startled, it just walked deeper into the forest as it belonged there. Skeptics called it a costume, but Bigfoot sightings in that exact stretch of Northern California go back to the 1960s, and this clip added one more to a very long list. Vanishing man. A man was standing alone on a dirt road on the outskirts of Coober Pedy, Australia, when someone nearby began filming him. What started as ordinary footage turned into something deeply unsettling within seconds. From the feet upward, his body began to dissolve, not fall, not collapse, but literally turn to dark soil and crumble away, as if the earth was reclaiming him. When the clip made its way online, most viewers called it edited, but the seamless, uncut nature of the footage made even the skeptics pause. Shadow patch.
You guys see that shadow?
Where?
It was a perfectly clear afternoon in Bar Harbor, Maine, USA, when a local looked up at the mountain ridge and saw something that made no sense. A single dark patch sat on the mountaintop, shaped like a shadow, even though the sky above it had not a single cloud. The rest of the mountain was bathed in full sunlight. It looked as if something above it was blocking the light from a source nobody could see.
Where?
Strange sea glow. In Florida, a group of tourists noticed something glowing beneath the surface of the water. It wasn't the gentle bioluminescence that occasionally lit up those waters. It was a concentrated, bright white light sitting below the waves and pulsing slowly. No submarine, no diving equipment, no vessel was anywhere near that stretch of coastline that night. Later, when the authorities searched, they found nothing in the water. Flying saucer. A man in Phoenix, Arizona, USA, stepped outside to have some fresh air when he saw a solid, disc-shaped object sitting motionless between the clouds, dark on the underside, with a defined rim completely unlike any natural cloud formation. It didn't drift with the rest of the sky, it just sat there, stationary, while clouds around it moved. The footage was shared widely, but no one could say for sure what it really was. Sky cube. A man was driving along Interstate 10 in El Paso, Texas, USA, when he glanced up through his windshield and saw something that made him slow down. Floating in the clear blue sky was a bright white shape. Not a balloon, not a blimp, but something with hard, defined edges, shaped like a cube. It wasn't spinning or drifting. It held a fixed position. When the video went up online, the Pentagon's recent acknowledgments of cube-shaped UAPs came up repeatedly in the comments.
It's moving, isn't it?
Glowing object. A news reporter was filming a live segment in Miami, Florida, USA, when something behind her caught the attention of the camera operator. A glowing oval-shaped object was rising steadily into the sky. The camera operator quietly zoomed in mid-broadcast, and the object became clearly visible and bright, moving upward at a smooth, constant speed, and vanished against the pale blue sky. Whatever it was, it left them scratching their heads about what it was.
Wow.
Strange sky sighting.
Get this on your phone?
Yeah.
They're just hanging there. They were lower a minute ago.
Patrol officers were on night shift on the outskirts of Albuquerque, New Mexico, USA. They pulled over after spotting something above the mountains. Several white glowing objects were floating in the sky, arranged side by side in a line. The officers stepped out of their vehicle and filmed for several minutes. The objects were blinking. One of them suggested that it might be a Starlink project of Elon Musk, making rounds in the sky.
Stay behind the truck, all right?
All right.
Cloud burst. Campers set up near the base of the Cascade Range outside of Bend, Oregon, USA, were watching an unusual cloud formation building over the ridgeline when things took a turn nobody expected. A glowing object appeared from the direction of the valley below and moved quickly toward the thickest part of the cloud mass. The moment it entered the cloud, the entire formation burst and poured tons of water on the valley below. If you have any explanation for how this happened, then write it down in the comments section. Sky mass. A group of friends spending the weekend at Big Bear Lake, San Bernardino County, California, USA, were sitting outside late at night when one of them pointed upward. Moving slowly across the sky above the tree line was a dense white mass, not cloud-shaped, not elongated like a contrail, but thick and white. It moved in a straight line at a consistent speed and maintained its shape without dispersing the way any atmospheric formation would. They had no explanation for it, so they were just watching and filming the moment.
Oh my God, bro, what is that?
Bridge creature. A group of friends was exploring the outskirts of Marfa, Texas, USA, when they noticed a strange creature perched beneath the bridge on a narrow concrete ledge. It was a dark figure, long-limbed, hunched forward, visibly feeding on something. It was too large to be any known bird found in the city, and its posture and movement were unlike anything people recognized. When one of the onlookers shouted, it lifted its head, looked toward the camera as if giving a warning not to record. The creatures. Big snake. A man living in a small village near the foothills of the Hindu Kush Mountains in Chitral, Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, Pakistan, had been reporting unusual sightings on the upper ridgeline for weeks before someone finally managed to film it. The footage showed a long, black shape moving laterally across the face of the mountain at a height no person could easily reach. Local elders in the village identified it as an anaconda, said to live in this area and caused them to lose livestock. Forest creature.
Why is he carrying that?
A wildlife photographer was set up in a hide near the forest edge in Daintree Rainforest, Queensland, Australia, waiting to photograph cassowaries when something else walked into his frame. It was large, moved upright, holding a stick in its claws. What made it even more strange was its tail, a gait that didn't match any animal he had spent years photographing in that region. He fired off several frames before it disappeared. He shared the video with a zoologist colleague, who was also left baffled after watching this clip.
Why is he carrying that?
Abandoned leaper. A paranormal investigator exploring an abandoned house in Detroit, Michigan, USA, was moving through a darkened corridor on the upper floor when his camera picked up a shape at the far end of the hallway. It was humanoid, standing upright, pale, and unnaturally thin. Suddenly, it launched itself toward him with a speed that gave him no time to think. He turned and ran, managing to keep the camera rolling as he sprinted for the staircase. Later, only his camera was found at the place, and he went missing for that day. Hunter's catch. A hunter walking through the pine forests near Bozeman, Montana, USA, came across something that stopped him cold. The footage showed a creature unlike anything in the woods, moving with a hunched, uneven gait, its features blurred but clearly not matching any deer, bear, or elk. Suddenly, the creature dropped low on the ground and began staring at him. Later, he shared the clip to wildlife biologists at Montana State University, but they still have no explanation for this. Sun formation. A man in Tucson, Arizona, USA, stepped outside on a clear afternoon and pointed his camera at the sky to capture the sun. What he captured instead was a strange formation around the sun itself, a symmetrical ring of light with secondary arcs branching off at exact intervals, almost like a geometric diagram. It wasn't a sun halo, which he had seen before. The angles were wrong, and the secondary arcs were too sharp. He posted the video online, but found no satisfactory explanation. Temple birds. Devotees visiting the Jagannath Temple in Puri, Odisha, India, noticed something that made several of them pause mid-prayer. A large flock of birds moving in near-perfect synchronization was circling the temple's main spire in tight, continuous loops, without landing, without breaking formation, and without making a sound. Older devotees at the temple that day said they had never seen anything like it in decades of visiting, and the priests of the temple suggested that this kind of strange behavior of birds indicates an impending apocalypse. Portal opening. A man driving on the Brewer Road, Sedona, Arizona, USA, spotted a light appear in the sky. It wasn't a star, it wasn't a plane, it was a luminous shape forming and expanding at a fixed point in the sky. Sedona had a long history of reported energy vortexes and unexplained sky phenomena, and this footage slotted neatly into a catalog of sightings from that area that stretched back more than 30 years. Forest beast.
You see that across the creek? There's something smaller with it.
A couple hiking through the trails of the Ouachita National Forest in Montgomery County, Arkansas, USA, were filming the scenery when something large and black moved through the brush about 40 feet ahead. It was covered in dark fur, moved on 4 legs, and was significantly larger than any black bear and chimpanzee recorded here. For their safety, they stopped and recorded it silently and let it pass.
You see that across the creek? There's something smaller with it.
Griffin sighting. A hunter had been sitting in a blind near the tree line in the Allegheny National Forest, Warren County, Pennsylvania, USA, waiting for deer to pass. Then, a peculiar creature appeared out of nowhere. It was enormous, moving on all 4s, with dark brown and big wings. It looked as if it were a mutation between a lion and an eagle. Fearing it might return, the hunter sat completely motionless for several minutes after it was gone. He packed up and drove home, kept thinking about griffins, a mythological creature. Unicorn sighting. A man was exploring Pisgah National Forest near Asheville, North Carolina, USA, on the 27th of March, 2025, when he spotted a horse grazing on the patch of grass. The animal's proportions were slightly off. Its body resembled a horse, but it looked too healthy, and the way it was moving made it unreal. The thing that made the sighting even more unsettling was that 2 horns extended from its snout, resembling a rhinoceros. After watching this creature, a thought immediately crept into his mind that it might be a unicorn he had heard about in stories. Misty figure. One winter morning, a man was out for a morning walk in a park in Galena, Illinois, USA, when the fog lying low made it hard to see more than a few meters ahead. Suddenly, a dark figure appeared ahead, moving toward him. He turned on his camera and panned it around, but there was no one around to ask what it was. Thinking it might be a ghost approaching to possess him, he began to move back and then ran away. Vanishing entity. A woman alone in her apartment in Charleston, South Carolina, USA, reached for the light switch before bed and turned it off. In the darkness, she saw a dark entity standing in front of her. She hit the light back on, but the corner was empty. Confused, she turned the light off just to confirm that her mind was not tricking her, but mysteriously, the entity appeared again. After this encounter, she became convinced that her house was haunted, and she never stayed alone in her house. Bandaged figure. Commuters driving along a road in Aspen, Colorado, USA, one evening began slowing down when they noticed a figure crossing the road that didn't look right. Phones came out of windows across multiple vehicles. The figure was wrapped head to toe in white cloth, tight like bandaging, covering every part of its body except its eyes. Its arms were crossed over its chest, and it walked with an upright posture, moving at an even pace without acknowledging the traffic. It reached the other side of the road and continued walking. Nobody followed it, and when the videos were shared online, viewers speculated that he might be wearing a costume to gauge the public's reaction. Sky Ring.
Look, Tessa, look! Oh my God.
A woman standing in her backyard in Austin, Texas, USA, on a clear night looked up and noticed a circular glow forming in the sky. After a while, it grew into a full, luminous green ring. The ring continued growing until it was large enough to span a significant portion of the sky, then faded from the inside outward and disappeared. The left with her jaw dropped because he had never seen anything like it before. Green ring formations had been documented near HAARP testing sites in Alaska, and that comparison came up frequently in the comments. Think that was the strangest thing you'd see today? Subscribe, because we've already found something worse and better, and we cannot wait to show you. Same time tomorrow. Thank you so much for watching.